Timothee Chalamet has been under intense scrutiny for his braggadocious behavior regarding his acting performance in Marty Supreme and some demeaning comments he's made about ballet and opera. This does not bode well for his hopes of receiving the Best Actor award at the Oscars this Sunday, as these awards are just as much political as they are based on talent. Taking a look at his transits the night of the Oscars, there appears to be a number of indicators that he just might end up disappointed. First off, there are many Chironic themes that have been affecting his life for the greater part of a year, and some Chironic themes that will be particularly active the night of the Oscars. Chiron is the wounded healer archetype. It represents our deepest wounds that have affected us from childhood and beyond, and how we transmute our pain to become a healer and guide for both ourselves and others who are in pain as well. Transits to our natal Chiron, so planets in transit that are affecting our natal Chiron, act as activations to our Chiron. So we are nudged, gently or otherwise, to confront our deepest wounding and find healing in the process. Night of the Oscars, transit Venus, Venus ruling artistic endeavors like acting, will be opposing his natal Chiron. Now, natally, Timothy has Chiron in Libra in the second house. Chiron in Libra speaks to a need to be loved and adored. Chiron in the second house relates to issues of feeling unworthy and lacking inherent self-worth. In the early incarnation of this placement, it shows a lack of self-worth and attempting to find it through approval, admiration, and love from others. Now, what is going on in the realm of artistry the night of the Oscars doesn't easily align with what needs to happen in order for Timothy to find deeper healing, and this is represented through this opposition. Venus is at 11 degrees in Aries, and his natal Chiron is at 13 degrees in Libra the night of the Oscars. Perhaps in order to heal some old wounds around inherent self-worth, he's poised to lose the Oscar, so he can learn to recognize that true self-worth comes from within and learn not to rely so heavily on external validation to be secure in his value as an individual. Now, transit Chiron acts as an activator to our natal planets to show us what needs healing regarding the particular planet in question. Transit Chiron is forming an exact square with his natal fifth house Mercury. This aspect indicates that he is currently experiencing some wounding around feeling misunderstood in conversation and insecure in how his thoughts and ideas are received, perhaps particularly in the realm of artistry, because the fifth house rules artistic endeavors. And as Timothy has been receiving some major backlash for his comments about his art and other art forms lately, perhaps in his mind he is being deeply misunderstood and taken out of context, acting to trigger some level of woundedness around communication. This should call him to take a closer look at what he's communicating and whether or not the backlash may actually be warranted. It's also worth noting that his Mercury is conjunct Neptune in his natal chart. This shows that he can be prone to delusional thinking. And with this aspect in the fifth house, there could be some level of delusion about just how great his acting performances truly are, and idealistic or perhaps confused in thinking around how his comments might actually be received. Perhaps most revealing is the fact that transit Saturn is squaring his natal sun, and this aspect will continue to grow stronger and more exact after the Oscars are over. This transit speaks to feeling incredibly deflated, depressed even if one buckles under the pressure of this energy. Although I certainly don't wish that upon him. It can sort of feel like the whole world is against you, and as a result, one can experience an incredible amount of discouragement and feelings of isolation. I sort of take the fact that the strength of this square will only grow after the Oscars, as growing heavy feelings after his potential loss of the award occurs. Oftentimes with this square, transit Saturn to natal Sun, superiors can get in the way of achieving what it is you're after. Saturn is trying to get you to turn inward and ask yourself, why am I pursuing the goals I'm after? Also, is my ego getting in the way of achieving my goals? Lastly, Timothy has transit Uranus on his natal midheaven, and he's had this transit for quite some time now. And as Uranus is operating in the final degrees of Taurus, there could be a pretty big upset in the realm of career and public reputation at this time. This is because a planet operating in the last few degrees of a sign, both in the natal chart and in transit, can have a profound and intense effect on the native, particularly if the planet in question is strongly aspecting one of your natal planets or points. Think of it like this. The planet is wrapping up its time in the sign, and it has unfinished business to attend to before it can move on to the next sign. Sometimes the planets can act a bit like college students scrambling to finish the final paper before the semester is over. And in Timothy's case, a 28-degree transit Uranus is forming an exact conjunction with his natal midheaven. Transit Uranus on the midheaven tends to bring shocking change to the career, reputation, and public image. And this can truly go either way. It can bring refreshing and stimulating change, or what the native perceives to be negative and abrupt change. Of course, even the supposed negative manifestation of this transit serves to help us achieve our highest good. And as Uranus in Taurus is in its final act, the change to Timothy's career and public reputation may be quite profound, and the effects will continue to be felt as Uranus continues to move through his 10th house. I actually think Michael B. Jordan will take home the award. This is what a lot of people are saying anyway. But because transit Venus is conjunct his north node, and the sun is illuminating his natal Jupiter. Of course, one mustn't leave out the fact that transit Jupiter is making its way through his 10th house, and it is conjunct his moon, which is the ruler of his 11th house of associations. And obviously the Academy is an association, so this can show being in good favor with one's associations. But perhaps most importantly, transit Mercury and North Node, along with Mars, are conjunct his natal Mercury, which is the ruler of his midheaven. Mercury is retrograde, but last year when Adrian Brody won, he was also experiencing his Mercury return. And he also has a midheaven that's ruled by Mercury and in Gemini. This whole picture just screams winning to me. Now, while no one is expecting Wagner Moura to win, forgive me if I mispronounced his name, transit Venus is going to be exactly conjunct his ascendant, which will at the very least be great exposure in his creative field and great for his relationship with the academy.